Have you ever wondered why some women do not simply enter a man's life, but tear through the walls he has so carefully built, dragging to the surface everything he thought was safely buried? It is because there exists a rare kind of woman, the mirror of his shadow. She does not reflect the image he shows the world. Instead, she reflects back the parts of himself he denies, the rage he conceals, the tenderness he represses, the fear he covers with bravado. And when such a woman appears, his soul is no longer safe from confrontation, for she does not merely love him, she reveals him. A man may spend decades weaving illusions of control, wrapping his identity in success, status, charm, or intellect. He convinces himself that he has mastered desire, that he is above the chaos of his own impulses. Yet when he meets the woman who embodies his shadow, all of this collapses. His composure falters, his voice trembles, his thoughts become erratic, as though he were haunted. For she does not desire the mask. She pulls at the raw essence beneath it. She becomes the key that unlocks the forbidden chambers of his psyche. CarlJung understood this with unnerving clarity. He wrote of the shadow as the repressed, unacknowledged, and often despised aspects of the self. To meet it is to confront the beast within. And yet, when a man meets it in the form of a woman, the experience is intoxicating and terrifying all at once. It is as though the unconscious has placed before him a mirror draped in silk, whispering, "Here is all that you are, and all that you have tried not to be." He cannot look away, for he is magnetized by the very danger he fears. She may not even try to seduce him. Her presence alone is enough. Her silence exposes the noise inside him. Her laughter reveals the bitterness he thought forgotten. Her strength awakens his buried weakness. Even her rejection can ignite in him a furious obsession, because the pain itself feels like recognition. She reminds him of his humanity, of the small boy who once craved approval and feared abandonment. And yet, she also awakens in him the darker currents: jealousy, possession, rage. Do you understand what this means? To be such a woman is to walk with a fire that men cannot resist, not because she offers them comfort, but because she offers them truth. And truth is the one thing the male ego spends its entire life trying to avoid. The man will not always know why he is drawn to her. He may call it chemistry, or destiny, or even madness. But beneath these words lies a deeper reality. He has been seized by his own shadow. His unconscious recognizes itself within her, and it is this recognition that ensnares him. She becomes both the poison and the antidote, the wound and the healer, the chaos and the calm. His attraction is not to her body alone, but to the soul mirror she carries. This is why men often speak of such women with awe or bitterness. Some call them dangerous, some call them unforgettable, and both are correct. For once he has seen his reflection in her, he cannot unsee it. Even if he runs, her image haunts him. Even if he despises her, the lesson she carved into his psyche remains. She is the storm that shakes him awake. She is the silence that reveals his noise. She is the wound that makes him search for meaning. Yet for the woman, this is no easy role. To embody a man's shadow is to hold power that feels both sacred and heavy. She becomes the trigger of his transformation, but also the target of his projections. He may worship her one moment, despise her the next. He may call her muse, then witch, goddess, then curse. He projects onto her what he cannot claim within himself. And she, if she is wise, must recognize that his chaos is not hers to carry. She must hold her boundaries like steel, lest she be consumed by the storm she awakens. What would you think if I told you that this very dynamic is the crucible of growth? For in being drawn to such a woman, a man is given the rare chance to see himself with unfiltered clarity. It is painful, yes, but in that pain lies the seed of individuation, the birth of the true self. She becomes the mirror not because she wishes to, but because she cannot be anything else. Her authenticity, her refusal to dim her essence, makes her the vessel of his shadow. And that is why he both longs for her and fears her. The question, then, is not whether he can resist her, He cannot. The question is whether he will face what she shows him, or flee from it into the arms of easier illusions. When a man cannot flee from the woman who mirrors his shadow, something primal awakens. He feels as if he is standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss that both terrifies and compels him. That abyss is not her, it is himself. She is merely the surface, the reflection on the water. But what he sees there shakes him, because it dismantles the fragile scaffolding of who he believes he is. His titles, his achievements, his rehearsed charm, none of it matters in her presence. She is immune to his performance. Instead, she draws forth what is hidden, what is vulnerable, what is raw. And here lies the paradox. The very parts of himself he has disowned become the source of his desire, the tenderness he suppresses, the grief he has locked away, the hunger he has denied. All of it surges when he looks at her. He does not want her because she is convenient, or even because she is beautiful. He wants her because she awakens him to what he truly is, even if it is unbearable to admit. CarlJung warned that what is repressed does not disappear. It waits, and when it surfaces, it does so with an energy that feels larger than life. This is why a man may describe such a woman as otherworldly, as if she were fate itself. In truth, she is simply the embodied reminder that he cannot escape himself. She provokes him, not because she tries, but because her authenticity makes visible his falseness. Where he is brittle, she is fluid. Where he pretends, she is unashamed. Where he hides, she reveals. Do you see the danger here? The man who is unprepared will cling to her as though she is salvation. He will imagine that possessing her will give him mastery over the chaos within. But this is the illusion. She is not the cure, she is the catalyst. She does not heal him, she reveals him. And unless he accepts that the real work lies in confronting his shadow, he will try to control her, confine her, or even destroy her, as if silencing her would silence the voice within that she has awakened. The woman, in this dance, must tread carefully, for she is both the gift and the threat. She ignites desire, but she also ignites fear, and fear can turn affection into hostility in a heartbeat. Many women who embody the shadow find themselves demonized, accused of being too much, too intense, too wild. Yet these accusations reveal less about her than they do about the man. They are proof that he has seen something in her that he cannot yet face in himself. You, listening now, must ask, what happens when such a man cannot withstand the mirror? He may run. He may numb himself with distractions, with work, with other women who do not disturb his peace. Yet deep down, he knows. He knows that in leaving her, he leaves a part of himself unclaimed. He knows he has retreated from the very threshold of transformation. And so, even in her absence, she lingers. She becomes the dream he cannot forget, the memory that interrupts his silence, the ghost that walks beside him when he thinks he is alone. This is why such women are unforgettable. They do not merely touch a man's heart, they touch his shadow. They reach the places he thought were untouchable, and once touched, he is never the same. Whether he embraces it or resists it, he has been altered. His illusions no longer fit as comfortably as before. His old distractions lose their flavor. Something in him yearns for the depth he once glimpsed, even if it terrified him. The Stoics spoke of this confrontation in different words. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life will test him, that people will provoke him, and that the true battle is always within. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is a slave to his passions, yet no man can master them by denying them. To deny is to strengthen their chains. To confront is to dissolve them. And so, when a woman mirrors a man's shadow, she offers him the very challenge the Stoics urged him to face. Mastery of self, not by suppression, but by understanding. What, then, does this mean for her? It means she must remember that his battle is his own. She is not responsible for saving him from himself. She may awaken him, but she must not sacrifice her own light to drag him through the dark. If he rises to the challenge, it will be by his choice. If he runs, it will be his loss. And she, the mirror, must continue walking in her truth, refusing to be diminished, refusing to dim her fire for a man too afraid to face its reflection. There is a strange, almost divine irony in this. The woman who mirrors his shadow is rarely the one he expects, yet she is always the one he needs. She may not be the softest, the safest, or the easiest, but she is the one who awakens him. And awakening is rarely comfortable. It is fire, not a lullaby. It is storm, not silence. In the silence after their collision, the man begins to unravel. He may not admit it, but his very sense of self has been cracked open, and the fracture runs deeper than he wants to see. He feels both magnetized and repelled, like iron drawn to a flame. The flame burns, yet he cannot look away. This paradox gnaws at him, for his ego whispers that he should be in control, that he should dictate the terms of love, desire, and destiny. But the woman who mirrors his shadow dismantles those illusions with every glance, every word, every silence. Her presence asks no permission. She does not beg to be seen. She simply is. And that terrifies him more than rejection ever could. Because if she can exist without seeking his validation, then what power does he truly hold? In her independence lies his undoing. For the man who has built his worth on being needed, adored, or obeyed, she shows him the futility of his old games. He cannot manipulate what is already free. He cannot dominate what cannot be caged. And here lies the secret that so many fail to understand. The mirror is never kind. It shows not what you want to see, but what you must see. When a man meets such a woman, she reflects not only the brilliance of his potential, but also the rot of his denial. She shows him the cracks in his armor, the falseness of his smile, the fears he thought were buried. And once revealed, these shadows demand to be reckoned with. Have you ever noticed how some men grow restless around women who carry their own power? They laugh too loudly, posture too much, retreat into bravado. This is not confidence, it is defense. Because the mere presence of a woman who does not play by his rules calls into question the very foundation of his identity. He feels it in his bones. She is not impressed by performance, and she will not be controlled by fear. For her, the mirror is not cruelty, but truth. And truth, when held without apology, becomes power. Yet this power is not in the form of dominance, but in clarity. She does not need to scream or demand. She simply exists as she is. This unshakable authenticity dismantles illusions faster than any battle. It is the calm storm that strips away all pretense. And the man, caught in this reflection, faces a choice. Will he retreat back into the comfortable numbness of his old patterns, pretending that she was just a phase, just temptation, just a mistake? Or will he stand in the fire and let it transform him? Few men dare to choose the latter, for transformation is brutal. To integrate the shadow is to die to the old self, to burn away the masks, to walk naked into the unknown. But for the rare man who does not run, something extraordinary happens. He discovers that the shadow he feared is not his enemy, but his guide. The anger he repressed reveals his hunger for justice. The grief he denied becomes the doorway to compassion. The weakness he despised becomes the soil of humility. And in this alchemy, he finds a freedom he never knew existed. No longer chained to the approval of others, no longer enslaved by fear of failure, he rises as something new. Not a man pretending to be strong, but a man rooted in his own truth. And what of the woman? She watches, not as a savior, but as a witness. For she knows this is not her battle to fight. She is the mirror, not the sculptor. If he shatters, it is by his own hand. If he transforms, it is by his own courage. Her task is to remain whole, to refuse the temptation to carry the weight of his becoming. Too many women fall into that trap, believing that to love a man is to fix him, to carry his wounds as if they were her own. But the empowered woman knows better. She knows that his healing is not her burden, that her worth does not depend on whether he chooses courage or cowardice. Here is the cruel beauty of such encounters. They rarely end in fairy tales. Often, they end in silence, in separation, in the ache of what could have been. And yet, the impact lingers. Both are changed, though perhaps only one will admit it. He may walk away, but the ghost of her reflection will follow him into every room, every relationship, every restless night. And she, even if scarred by his fear, will continue forward, her fire undimmed, her truth intact, because the woman who mirrors the shadow cannot return to smallness. Once she has seen her own power, the power to awaken, to disrupt, to ignite transformation, she knows she is no ordinary presence. She is a force, not one to be used, not one to be caged. But there comes a moment, after the storm of projection and the heat of confrontation, when silence descends. It is not the comfortable silence of two souls at peace, but the heavy, trembling silence of recognition. In that stillness, the man realizes he is not battling her at all. He is battling himself. Every argument, every surge of jealousy, every attempt to control was never truly aimed at her. It was aimed at the parts of himself he could not face. She is only the canvas. The colors, the shadows, the fractures, they all belong to him. This realization can be devastating. To see that the monster he feared lives within, and that no amount of charm, conquest, or distraction can silence it. He may curse her, call her dangerous, even try to diminish her with cruel words. But beneath his rage is terror, the terror of being exposed. For when the mask cracks, the fragile man beneath it fears he will not survive. And yet, if he surrenders to this breaking, it becomes his initiation. CarlJung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This is precisely the gift such a woman carries, whether she intends it or not. She is the catalyst, the one who brings the unconscious into the daylight. She does not do this by preaching, nor by saving, but by the sheer truth of her existence. A truth too bright to ignore, a mirror too clear to look away from. For the man, the journey through this darkness is not just psychological, but spiritual. To integrate the shadow is to touch the very core of the soul. It demands that he stand stripped of illusions, no armor, no mask, no applause. Imagine the fear of a man who has always defined himself by external validation, the career, the reputation, the women who adored him, the power he wielded. Suddenly, none of it matters. In her presence, none of it counts. She sees past it all, into the rawness of his being. And that gaze demands something real. How many men can withstand such nakedness? To be seen without disguise, without the performance of masculinity, without the shield of pride. Most will retreat. They will find safer women, softer mirrors, relationships where their illusions remain intact. But the few who stay, the few who dare to look, those men are forever altered. For once the shadow is seen, it can never again be buried without cost. To deny it is to choose a half-life, to numb oneself with endless distraction. But to embrace it is to enter the path of individuation, the path of becoming whole. And what of the woman? Does she escape untouched? No. To mirror a man's shadow is to wrestle with her own. His projections may wound her, his fear may bruise her spirit, his retreat may leave her questioning her worth. Yet here lies her test. Will she abandon herself in his storm, or will she rise even stronger? The empowered woman does not allow his inability to see her value to diminish it. Instead, she uses the very pain of his retreat as a reminder of her own unshakable truth. For it is not her role to drag him into wholeness. That burden is his alone. Her role is to remain anchored in her essence, sovereign, luminous, unyielding. Too many women confuse power with sacrifice, believing that love means shrinking, so a man will not feel small. But love built on self-erasure is not love at all. It is bondage. The woman who mirrors his shadow is not here to dim herself, but to blaze so brightly that illusion cannot survive in her presence. In this way, she too undergoes transformation. For every time she chooses not to shrink, not to beg, not to carry his brokenness as her own, she deepens her freedom. She learns the rare art of detachment, the ability to love without losing herself, to give without being consumed, to walk away when her soul is no longer honored. This is where her true power crystallizes. And so the story of such an encounter is not one of fairy tale endings, but of awakening. Whether they remain together or part ways, whether he rises or retreats, both are forever changed. She knows now